Today, loneliness feels like an emotional problem, something uncomfortable, maybe even sad. But years ago, loneliness wasn't just a feeling, it was a death sentence. Being alone didn't make you sad, it made you pray. Humans are not the strongest animal on the savannah. We're not the fastest, we don't have claws, thick hides, or venom. Almost every advantage we had came from one single thing, the group. Strip that away, leave a single human alone, without a tribe, without backup, and you were suddenly one of the most vulnerable creatures in the entire ecosystem. A lone human was an easy target. No one to watch your back while you slept. No one to help fight off a predator, carry an injured person to safety, or simply make enough noise and movement to make an ambush too risky for a predator to attempt. Group size itself was a defense mechanism. Predators generally prefer easier, isolated targets over confronting a coordinated group. Unique to humans, almost every prey species that survives in dangerous environments relies on numbers, but humans took it further. Our defense wasn't just physical, it was coordinated attention. Someone watching one direction while someone else watched another. Someone resting while someone else stayed alert. A lone human lost every part of that system at once. Survival wasn't just physical, it was informational. Which plants were poisonous? Where the last known water source was? Which predators had been spotted recently, and in which direction? This knowledge lived in the group, passed through observation, storytelling, and direct teaching. A person alone didn't just lose muscle and numbers. They lost access to an entire accumulated memory bank of what kept people alive. If you got separated from your group in unfamiliar territory, you weren't just isolated, you were suddenly operating blind, without the collective knowledge that had been building for generations. Every mistake you made alone, with no one to correct you before it became fatal. Panic, finding food, building shelter, tending a fire, caring for children or the injured, none of this was efficient for one person alone. A group could split tasks, some foraging, some hunting, some maintaining the fire, some watching for danger. This division of labor created a survival margin that a single person simply couldn't replicate. No matter how skilled or strong they were, a solitary human had to do everything themselves, constantly, with no rest, no backup, and no room for injury or illness to be covered by anyone else. One twisted ankle, one bout of fever, and there was no one to hunt or gather in your place. Isolation didn't just remove comfort, it removed your entire safety margin at once. Oh, here's where it gets interesting. Many researchers argue that our modern emotional response to loneliness, the anxiety, the low-grade dread, the restlessness, isn't a random glitch. It's likely an evolved alarm system. For most of human history, being isolated from your group was one of the most reliable predictors of death. A brain that generated intense discomfort at the prospect of isolation would have pushed individuals to stay close to the group, reconcile after conflict, and avoid wandering off alone, all of which improved survival odds. Sking. In other words, the uncomfortable feeling of loneliness may not be a modern inconvenience. It may be a deeply old warning signal, built by generations who didn't survive long enough to pass on genes that made isolation feel fine. Which means the discomfort you feel from isolation today isn't some outdated glitch to override or push through. It's a signal that was built, tested, and refined by tens of thousands of years of very real consequences. Keynes, your ancestors who ignored that feeling and wandered off alone, often didn't make it long enough to have descendants. The ones who felt that discomfort and returned to the group, they're the reason you're here. So the next time loneliness feels heavier than it should, or the pull to reconnect with people feels stronger than logic explains, that's not weakness. That's hundreds of thousands of years of survival wiring doing exactly what it was built to do. We evolved to need each other, and the feeling that reminds you of that is older than almost anything else about being human. If you want to see how ancient humans built and maintained the tribes that kept them alive, hit subscribe. This is Ancestral Line.